And now here in the second hour, we're going to talk to the coach himself, Coach Jerrod Calhoun, joining us. Hey, Coach, how are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me, and I really appreciate you guys coming up today.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I know we were trying to watch the scrimmage as much as we can. We're working through some technical difficulties here. But it seems like you got a crew that's, running fast, running hard. Seems like they're doing pretty well for this stage in the offseason.
Yeah, we have about, I'd say, 40 to 45% of our playbook in. We've got a lot of our defensive concepts and philosophy in. So we play a matchup zone that can be difficult to learn. And I think these kids have been willing learners. The chemistry is really, really good. I think it starts with Fish and Ian and Mace and Carson Templin and certainly Jackson Smith. The guys that were here last year have done a great job.
So tell me about the matchup zone, because obviously I'm not super well versed here. I imagine some kind of hybrid between, man and zone. Like, how does that work, out on the floor there?
Yeah, so I think you hit it right on the head. At certain times it looks like zone, certain times it looks like man, right? So that's, the same. It looks like a 2-3 zone. We can guard one play totally different. Let's say you come down and run a play and then they run the same play the second time. We guard it two different ways. So what it does is it really makes the offense think and make plays. We really try to take the game out of the coach's hands. We ran it last year. Northern Kentucky's been running it for 5 years. We went from the 7th best defensive team in the conference in the Horizon to the first, all by converting to this. So Jerrod Calhoun is a tremendous defensive coach. Really, really happy he's on my staff. He gave me fits for 5 years in Northern Kentucky when I was a coach at Youngstown. So he was a guy I was really going to target as an assistant coach, and really, really thankful he's here.
Coach, when we were talking to the players, we were asking them to describe this system. There's two guys who were here before, and just how they're observing how different it is from what they were doing. Drake Allen is new to this as well, but just giving them a chance to describe what it is that they're kind of seeing from this system and how it works. We heard terms like freedom and confidence and a lot of motion and activity. Are they, in your mind, doing a fair job of describing what you're trying to implement?
Yeah, it's complicated, but it's not, right? So we play a European style, NBA style of offense where we want to try to create some space. We give some 5-out looks, some 4-round-1 looks, and we really do give our guys freedom, right? You saw Carson Templin. I think he won that third scrimmage today, made 2 big threes. You got to take and make threes, right? At the end of the day, you got to give kids confidence, but it's about making decisions, and we let all 5 guys make the decisions, right? Each coach is different. Sometimes one particular player is going to get all the shots. We're very spread out. We're going to play a lot of guys, and we're going to be a balanced type of offense. For the summer, we have a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. These are in 10 practices, and we shot about 39% from 3. So when you're running good offense, that means you're passing the ball and you're shooting at a high percentage. So I'm very, very pleased with where we're at. It can be a little tricky because the defense we're playing, nobody else plays it, right? So when you're playing offense, we make our guys play man-to-man because most of the teams in the Mountain West are going to play man-to-man. So it's a little bit of give and take when you play that kind of defense because offensively we're not getting as many reps every day. So I got to be very strategic in our practice plans of making sure our guys are getting reps against man-to-man because we're predominantly a matchup zone. So that part's a little tricky.
You talk about shooting, and we had an interview with you the other week where you talked about basically everyone shooting threes, even your big guys. And you weren't kidding. You're seeing Carson and Pavel. I think the only guy I saw that didn't take a 3, and maybe I just wasn't looking, was Aubin. I don't know if I saw him take it.
One from that corner down there.
Yes, I must not have been looking at that moment. But yeah, just everyone seems like they're going to take a 3. Everyone on this roster, which is pretty rare to have everyone have that freedom to rise and fire at any point.
Yeah, I think it really stretches defense. If you can make them. Now, if you can't make them, they're going to pack it in. Mason was phenomenal yesterday. 2 days before, Tucker Anderson was unbelievable. We've had about every single day where one guy's kind of carried our practices. Mason Falslow had one for the ages yesterday. Ian Martinez, practice 3. He was incredible. Tuck practice 6 or 7 was phenomenal. So Auburn yesterday, I thought had the best practice. What's been Dexter Cano and Dayton Albury have been tremendous the last 3 practices. what's kind of neat is with our team, I think on any given night somebody can carry us. I don't necessarily know if we'll have an 18, 19-point game guy. I don't know if Ian or Mace will get to that number. But we might have a lot of guys in double figures.
This, you guys leave tomorrow to go overseas. You try to cram a lot in. I know as a coach, you're probably feeling like there's so much more we want to do, but how do you feel the team has kind of grasped or been able to handle what you have thrown at them so far to this point?
I think that's a great question, and it's something that, I've done like 4 of these things now. A couple as a head coach, a couple as an assistant. So you try to learn from each experience, right? Last year was Spain. Just happened to be back-to-back years on the foreign trip. So I try to learn from my mistakes of last year. I didn't think we put enough in Spain when one of my Youngstown State team was there. We did a good job of not information overload. There's only so much you can do in 10 practices. And I wanted the guys to come to the gym and be excited. I really want to spend a ton of time with these guys on this trip and really just get to know them on a deeper level. But I think we've done a really good job. We've had some character classes where we talk about certain things. We cover different topics in there, talk about our standards. And like I said, I think these returning guys have set the tone. I think the new guys have been willing learners, and we've meshed really well. We're not by any means a finished product. Nobody's supposed to be in August. But I think it's going to be so neat to play these games, see what we learn from it, correct it. I can see certain guys, in huddles, they're not processing the information like some other guys. So I know I'm kind of getting a feel for each individual guy, and I think that's what's really important this time of year.
So you have a lot of incoming point guards, guys like Dayton and Drake and Braden and even Jordy. You got like 4 new guys that are all point guards. How are they kind of integrating into the offense and being those lead ball handlers, if there is a lead ball handler, so to speak, in your offense? How are they kind of integrated in?
There is. Sometimes we're going to play Dayton and Drake together. I think you're going to see a little bit of that quite a bit this year. But we do have a lead point guard. Our 4 or 5 takes it out. If our 5 takes it out, we're in a 5 out. If our 4 takes it out, we're in a 4 round 1, and that would be Fish and Tucker Anderson kind of setting pin downs, which lead to a lot of different things. Drake was really good there for a while, right? So each one of these kids have had some really big moments. Drake had about 3 practices in a row where he was really processing information, he was learning, he was getting better. And then recently it's been Dayton Albury. So I really believe that will be a heavyweight battle of who starts. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. They might both finish the game. I think Ian and Mason have been tremendous in Auburn. I think those 3 guys have really stood out. I think the point guard position is going to be interesting. I think the forward position is going to be very interesting as far as starters. But we're going to play 9 for sure and possibly 10, right? So, I also think Carson Templin and Isaac Davis are going to be an interesting one too, because Isaac Davis has done nothing because he's had his broken hand, just conditioning, but no basketball stuff. But he's a talent, and then Carson Templin's had a really good summer. So you're getting some depth at each position, but Jordy has been great too. He's always at the right place at the right time. You can tell his dad's a coach, and he's a very, very heady player and tough. Braden Housley can play the point and off the ball. He's a guy that's going to take and make big shots. He has a knack for taking and making big shots, and I think he'll play like the 1-2. You could see more at the 2.
So I want to ask about those forwards. That's something I've been looking at, where you have, the I don't know if you want to call them a true power forward, but guys like Carson and Isaac seem more fit for that forward, but maybe they're a bit young, maybe not ready to step into a big role. Maybe Carson. But you got guys like Isaac Johnson and Tucker Anderson who may be just slightly outside of that definition of a 4. Like, how do you expect to try and fill that position, that 4, whether it's one of those guys or maybe even a guard in some lineups?
Yeah, that's a great question too. I think obviously Fish and Tuck give us the 3-point shooting. They stretch the defense. Fish is obviously 7 foot. Tuck is 6'9", so I think they have great length and they can shoot. We can also put Dexter O'Connell there, right? I mean, Dexter O'Connell's strong. He can play off the bounce. It's going to be one of those 3 to start, I would think, depending on which direction we go. But like I said, I mean, Fish and Tuck really stretch the defense. And then I can also slide Fish to the 5, right, and be really versatile. You could have him at the 5 and Tucker Anderson at the 4. Now you got 5 guys that can all make shots, and you're really hard to guard. And I don't know if we'll guard anybody.
Yeah.
But have to score 95. Our goal is 84, but that could be a versatile lineup too.
Yeah.
So we're going to tinker with all this in Europe.
So how important is that, that defensive side? Because, you have all the versatility in the world you want on offense. But, it's, if Tucker's at the 4, Isaac's at the 5, things like rebounding, guarding inside the post, especially in the Mountain West where there's a lot of big guys. How much, how are they to work on that to be, viable on defense?
Guys, what they've gained since they got here, Albin is plus 16. Fish is at a really good weight. Tucker Anderson's plus 9. One of the things we've really state, Nevada, New Mexico, right? Some of these front lines you're going to see night in and night out when we get to conference play, and even in the non-league, because I think we've scheduled a really good schedule. Yeah. You have to be physical, right? But I think the zone really speeds you up. I think the zone for playing against a dominant 5-man, we can trap the post, and we're in scramble mode. But you hit it on the head. At the end of the day, you can play any defense you want. You have to be able to rebound the ball, right? And you got to be able to defensive rebound and limit teams to one shot. So if you said, hey, Coach, what's your biggest fear defensively? It would be that, right? Our ability to, hit people, get the defensive rebound, which will lead to good offense on a break. If we can handle that, I think defensively we can be elite. I think Mason, Falslev, and Ian, these guys could be up for Defensive Player of the Year if they lead the league in steals the way we're going to play. It's not a real passive zone. This is, they're coming off a ball screen. We're attacking it. We want our guys looking for steals. So I think there's going to be opportunities for these guards and wings to be up for Defensive Player of the Year if the defense is as good as it needs to be.
Again, we're talking to Jerrod Calhoun. He's head coach of the Utah State men's basketball program. They head to Italy tomorrow and have a game there. Then they'll head over to Croatia for a couple of games. But, Coach, this is a team with a lot of experience, whether guys who are returning here or veteran guys who've transferred here. Having that level of experience on a team where you're throwing so much new at a lot of these guys this is the first time they're seeing a lot of this stuff. What have kind of you observed in that aspect of kind of the veteran presence of your roster?
There's been some growing pains. There's no doubt about it. When you're coming back and you're going from 4 hours a week to 20, there's physical pain, right? You got to get used to, going from only practicing 4 hours the whole week to 20. That was a learning adjustment. And then I think we threw a lot at them. I really did. I think there were certain days early on they might have thought, man, coach is putting in way too many things, out of bounds, sideline out of bounds, situational stuff. But I kind of did that by design. There's also days when we're running offense, I won't say a word, right? And the one day Jerrod Calhoun looked at me and said, Coach, what are you doing? I said, it's your team. You have to run the next 10 minutes. I want you to call every act. The coach is going to draw up the plays, he's going to make the substitutions, but at the end of the day, players have to be in it together. They got to work through some fatigue. They got to work through some things. And I thought they did a really good job. You watch our practices, every time there's a little bit discombobulated, whether we're messing up a play or somebody gets scored on, our team's huddling up. I haven't seen that. Good, honest, open communication. To say we didn't have some battles the last 10 practices, that's not true. We've had guys go at it, right? Guys are competing. Guys are making each other better. I didn't think anybody crossed the line. I think we foul a lot. I told our guys today, and the 3 referees for the Mountain West, in FIBA, it's after 5 fouls per quarter, you're shooting 2 free throws. So if you guys look at that box score on Monday night and see 35 free throws by the Italian team, don't be surprised. We're playing hard, but we're not playing smart enough yet, and that's understandable this time of year.
So one of the maxims, I guess, in basketball, they talk about having a guy who can take the shot, at the end of the shot clock, things like that. Maybe you can speak to how accurate that is, but it seems like if there's a player on this team that's going to fill that role, it's Ian Martinez or maybe Mason Falslev. Do you feel like that's a role that Ian Martinez can take, where it's like if you guys need a shot and there's 3 seconds of the shot clock, get it to him, he can make that happen?
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times in the last 10 practices that he's made one of those shots. And you're like sitting there as telling your defense, I'm playing great defense, and he's hitting a fadeaway or he's hitting off the bounce. guy in the league. He's shooting the ball. He's handling the ball. He covers every day. He's a winner. I think those two kids are big time.
Yeah, it seems like you have a lot of guards that are very capable. We talk about shooting, but there's guys that can attack the basket. Dayton, that's what he's doing a lot at Queens, and Ian and Mason were doing. I mean, Mason, that was like his entire thing, was attacking the basket, shooting like 70% of the rim. 73%. Yeah, it's really impressive for a 6'3" guard. So I guess it seems like not only you guys can shoot, but you have guys that can attack the rim, and I imagine that's going to be a big, 1-2 punch. If you attack the rim, guard that, you can kick it out to three, and vice versa.
And Dexter O'Connell's been great too from Oregon State. He's a guy that's going to be a hard guard too. I mean, he's like 6'4", really, really strong. He can post, he can drive, he can make threes. He's had an awesome 3 days. He was struggling, I'd say, like for 3 or 4 practices. Same thing with Dayton. All these guys have gone through some growing pains, and it's kind of neat to see him push through that a little bit and kind of learn the system a little more. We did some extra film sessions. We did some walkthroughs. Like you said, the guy said, we give him a lot of freedom. There's no doubt about it. But with freedom, you got to know how to play. So we don't want ball sticks. We actually chart what you just talked about. We want 70% of our possessions to end in a paint touch, whether that's a cut, whether that's a post up or off the bounce. When you drive the ball into the key and you kick it, you get really good shots, right? And unless you have a Zach Edey type, which Coach Painter had the last couple years at Purdue, you can get a paint touch anytime you want.
Yeah.
I do think we'll throw the ball to Auburn. I think Auburn is getting confidence. He was just okay today, but yesterday was dominant. He's kind of had some great days, some up and down days. But when he's on and he's running and he's active and blocking shots and finishing around the basket, he's as good as any big in the league too. So we got a lot of options. It's going to be a fun team. We got to be good early, right? As you guys know, the schedule is brutal. We got a lot of good teams coming in here. We got some really tough road games. But it's the way of college basketball. The Big Ten's got 18 teams. The SEC, I think, has 16. These leagues are going to load up and try to get all the bids. So I think it's really my obligation not to underschedule, to overschedule, if anything, and challenge our guys and go win games in the non-league to put ourselves in a good position.
I was going to ask you about that. You announced that Charlotte was added to your Utah State hasn't officially made that announcement, but it was reported that Charlotte is going to be filling that vacant spot. But can you speak to that? Can you speak to them, adding them on your schedule, kind of completing your schedule now with your non-conference?
Yeah, I mean, this schedule's been a challenge. I think everybody in the country is struggling with it. It's turning more into the portal. To be honest with you, schools will lie to you. They'll tell you they're sending the contract tomorrow. The contract never comes. It's like kids telling you, "Hey, I'm going to come on the visit." They never show up. So there's a lot of that in college basketball right now, right? It's very, very chaotic with the portal, and I think scheduling is now the biggest challenge when you got a good team and a good program, and certainly a venue like ours. So. We're fortunate this year to have 7 very, very good home games, right? I think our fans should be energized. What they helped accomplish last year, that was not just the coaches and the players. The fans should feel just as part of all those wins. They played a huge part. I watched every single game at home last year on video. The atmosphere they created inside that spectrum is second to none. By far the best in our conference and one of the best in college basketball. So we wanted to make sure we get some good teams in here. I think the Iowa thing is really neat for fans. It's a doubleheader. You get to see some great teams. Orlando's really neat. I know it's Thanksgiving, so that'll be tough with our fans traveling, but we hope to get a lot of fans down there, and those are great teams. So St. Mary's is going to be a hard one. Montana's good. South Florida was unbelievable. So the list goes on and on. We need all these. We need to beat them, and then we need them to go win all their games. That's kind of how the scheduling thing works.
It's been to the scheduling, and obviously there's these power conference or major conference teams. It seems like they always end up as like these neutral site games. That's just kind of the way scheduling goes these days. If you want to play one of these teams, you basically have to play them in a neutral site.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's crazy. They're popping up more and more. I think we're going to play in a couple of those next year, to be honest with you. So. They are. What they're doing is neither party can agree on the home and home. Back in the day it was, hey, you come to our place, we're going to come to yours. It's a home and home. Like we just did 2 of those, right? We did one with South Florida, one with Charlotte. We really wanted to kind of offset it. So one time we'd go to Charlotte, one time we'd go to South Florida, vice versa. But we said, heck, if we're going to get them both at home this year, we'll make that a 2-game road trip next year, and that'll just be in one week. But yeah, the neutral site thing, the MTEs, to me the MTEs are really important. You got to get them a good MTE. And then it really comes down to who can you get to come to Logan, right? Who can you get to come into this building? I'm very pleased. I don't know where the strength of schedule will be. You want it in that top 50, that top 80. I think last year, non-league, we were at least, hopefully we'll be in the top 100. But it all depends on how good these teams are. And really nowadays, you never know, right? It's kind of a guessing game. There's Bar Torvik, and there's some preseason analytics stuff that we look at, the numbers, like we look at offense and defense and transfer rate and who's coming back, who's going. If we play the game neutral, if we wanted to get somebody in the Delta Center. We begged, I think who we tried to get, our friends here in the state, but we couldn't get it done, right? So hopefully eventually we'll get that thing going again.
Yeah, that'd certainly be nice. It's been a there's been a gap in these games between all those teams down south, but yeah, obviously it seems that there's a hesitance on either side.
I don't think we asked you last time we had you on about your relationship with Joe Mazzulla and seeing him win an NBA championship. What was that like for you, and what your relationship is with him?
Yeah, it was crazy. My daughter and I went to Game 3. Went up to his hotel room afterwards. They were up 3-0. Went on the team bus, and to see somebody that you obviously coached. He was. I worked a lot with him at West Virginia as his position coach, and then see him come on your staff, and then see him take over for you when you leave, and then see him go to the G League, and then go be an assistant, and now the head coach of the Celtics. Some guy called me like 10 days ago. He was from another country. He was doing a story on Joe, and he said, "Could you envision this for him?" And then, "Are you surprised?" Right? That was it was like a 2-part question to the thing. And first of all, I don't know if anybody can envision being a head coach of the Boston Celtics and winning a championship. Right? Am I surprised he was ready when he got that opportunity? Absolutely not. One thing that we've kind of all been taught is you got to really prepare for your opportunities. And my college coach, Coach Massavino, used to tell me all the time, and I just live by this. And it's a weird fear, but I have a fear of getting fired, right? And I think that's kind of driven me to the person that I am, right? There's no off days. We can't waste days. And that was a Bob Huggins saying. But you just have to stay ready. You have to be prepared. And as Coach Massavino used to say, Jerrod, if you ever get a Division I job, you get one shot, right? You only get one shot. So I got one shot at this thing at Utah State, right? I understand the expectations, where we're at, the fan base, what they want, and there's a lot of eyeballs on this program, right? And it's not only during the season, but off season. We've got to make sure at all times that we are talking about the brotherhood at Utah State, and that's really want to build on the tradition that Coach Stu built, and all these different coaches and managers, but more importantly, the brotherhood of the players, right? So if you can get a team that, when they put that jersey on, and they don't have the jersey on, they're representing this place at all times in the highest manner, and with great respect and connectivity, then you'll have a good team. And I just never understood why people complain and people mope and grope about certain things. To me, you always got to keep growing, and I've just been so happy to walk into the Zesty Center every day since I got here. It's a ton of work. We have not stopped from recruiting camps, practice, the whole thing, fundraising. But I wouldn't want it any other way. And I love this city of Logan, and I love the state of Utah. It's a beautiful place to raise a family, and I got a lot of great neighbors. I love my neighbors too.
So that's one more question about, you guys watch Team USA basketball? I know they managed to pull off the comeback over Serbia while you guys were playing. So
I watched the first half, and here's what I think we're all realizing, and even us at Utah State. If you look at all our good teams, we've had some great international players, especially here late.
Yeah.
The game has changed. This isn't 1991-92. Where the dream team's rolling up with Barkley and Jordan, and they're playing bad teams, right? You can say whatever you want. The game has changed. I don't know who's better, this dream team or that dream team, but the international basketball has gotten so good that, number one, we're recruiting it all the time. But USA is struggling right now to, it's going to be a battle. France is really good. It's on their home turf. You got some great players on that team, so it's going to be a battle.
You get a chance to recruit while you're over in Europe, see if you can sneak a look at some of these players.
It's a dead period. So I know some other coaches. I've heard the stories on coaches doing that, but you know what? I think outside the basketball, we're going to visit some unbelievable places. Really looking forward to it. I love seeing our players smile and just interact with each other. And this is going to be a trip of a lifetime, I tell you. Hopefully this will be the start of a beautiful journey this year, and it's step one.
Coach, best of luck. Travel safe. Excited for you and your team to get overseas and play against somebody else rather than each other.
Yeah, we are. And guys, I want to thank you. I listen to your pod. I'm a huge podcast guy. So I think I've listened to almost every episode of you guys. So.
Well, that make me nervous.
You're
Wow.
You're on my top 5.
Well, you haven't listened to very many this week because we've had some problems, but nonetheless. Yeah.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. Again, Coach Jerrod Calhoun, Utah State men's basketball, their scrimmage earlier today, heading to Italy tomorrow and then to Croatia after that. Quick timeout. We'll be back here on the Full Court Press.